Instead of arresting Ken for, you know, literally threatening a police officer with a firearm, just told the marshal that there was nothing they could do about it. Retrial was in just 5 days. The court decided there was no point in locking him up.
He can kill somebody in fight. What the fuck do you mean?
And they further intimidate the townspeople.
How do you intimidate 60 people? 60, that's a 6 and a 0. That's 60 people.
Really gloat about his continued freedom.
How do you intimidate
After
60
what seemed to be an unproductive meeting.
Hello, you sexy bastards. How y'all doing? This has been requested a lot. Mad Lads. The town... Well, actually, it's not Mad Lads. The town that murdered their bully. Interesting. Wait, what? It's not Mad... I thought it was Mad... whatever. Y'all know what I mean.
In criminal and forensic circles, people talk a lot about the perfect crime.
Okay.
A crime executed so flawlessly and so brilliantly that the perpetrators get away completely scot-free and the police have not one single shred of evidence to work with, which makes catching the perpetrators completely impossible. You would think that such a crime would require a serious amount of planning and preparation to pull off. But it turns out that that might not always be the case. Because the crime we're going to talk about today is a murder. A murder carried out in broad daylight, right in front of 60 witnesses. Yet, the murder still remains unsolved. Because all 60 of these witnesses all said that they didn't see a thing.
I didn't see
nothing.
Now,
how the hell did that happen?
I didn't see nothing.
Let's talk about the murder of Ken Rex McElroy.
Ken Rex McElroy. What the fuck? I've never heard of this event. The daylight murder of Ken McElroy.
But before we get into the mad lad, it is in fact your boy, Red Shadow Legends. The hottest game in the Play Store with almost a perfect score and over 500 champions for you to collect. Lots of dungeons for you to fight through.
We're gonna skip this because it's a long ass video, okay? It's a long ass video, it's 40 minutes.
Family. His parents made their living by... Rex McElroy was born on the 1st of June 1934 and he was the 15th of a 16-child family. His parents made their living by travelling throughout...
How? By fucking? What?
Kansas and Missouri as tenant farmers. They eventually settled in a small town.
Oh, the dad was like, why hire farm hand and if you can make it...
in northern Missouri called Skidmore, where Ken would stay for the rest of his life. Even when he was growing up, it was clear that Ken was destined for a life of delinquency. When he was just 15, Ken decided to just walk out of school, even though he was considered barely literate. He would spend much of his spare time hunting raccoons, not for a job or anything, he just really enjoyed killing them. But Ken soon realised that he needed to find a way to make some money. And quick. So Ken, in the tradition of many semi-literate dropouts, turned to theft. He mainly stole livestock, grain and alcohol from various farms and warehouses to then sell at a profit. And because Skidmore was a middle-of-nowhere part of Missouri, it was extremely easy for him to get away with all of these thefts and make some good money out of it. In fact, he made such a good living out of it that he was able to invest and supplement his income with more legitimate enterprises.
Raise dogs?
He bred racing and hunting dogs, dealt in antiques, and he also leased out farmland that he eventually managed to acquire. He would routinely buy new pickup trucks, and he wouldn't face his first charge of livestock rustling until 1972, But even when he got charged with the various thefts that he committed, he would always be acquitted due to a lack of hard evidence. It was during these legal battles that Ken began to forge his thuggish reputation. In order to prevent people from going to the police, he would engage in some extreme intimidation tactics against witnesses. He would stalk his victims whilst openly armed, vandalise private property, and personally threaten other potential witnesses. There were also several instances where farm auctioneers knew for a fact that the livestock Ken was bringing in...
Bruh, did you steal people's things and sell it to them?
Were 100% stolen.
At least they weren't theirs.
But they still let the sale go through anyway, due to them being so afraid of the retribution Ken would unleash upon them. In fact, Ken would go so far as to intimidate the police themselves. At one point, a marshal operating in the area actually made the decision to outright quit his job because of Ken.
Up at the bar one night, he caught me coming outside and pulled a gun out and was holding it there, and he asked me if I was going to testify against him. I told him I'd have to go over because I was a marshal. He said that he would believe in killing a man that wanted to put him in the pen for the rest of his life. And
were you frightened of him that night?
Yeah, I sure was. Anytime you're looking at a gun, you don't know if he's going to shoot you or what he's even thinking. He may have just been trying to scare me. But he did the job.
The sheriff, instead of arresting Ken for, you know, literally threatening a police officer with a firearm, just told the marshal that there was nothing they could do about it. What helped even less was the fact that there was no police station in Skidmore itself. The closest station was in a town.
How small of a fucking town was it?
About a 20-minute drive away. So when the police actually bothered to respond to one of Ken's rampages, they took so long to get there that Ken had all but vanished by the time an officer had arrived on the scene. So basically, everyone in Skidmore was completely alone and at Ken's mercy.
I mean, he doesn't have like a gang or anything, so I kind of see where he's going. They're just gonna pop him, right?
Some believe that Ken's violent and erratic tendencies were the result of a head injury that he suffered during one of his only legitimate jobs as a construction worker. However,
Hey, look at what happens. You go, start working hard, legitimate job, you fucking fall, brain damage, legitimate life ain't forever.
Explanation is that Ken just simply wanted to be intimidating so that nobody would ever openly confront him. But it wasn't just the thuggish behaviour that Ken was well known for. He also had a reputation for being a bit of a womanizer. Though womanizer is probably the wrong word.
Other people's
because it wasn't really women that Ken was interested in. In his close circle of raccoon hunting friends, he was always noted as going after...
So you mean he was hunting raccoons, but in actuality he was more interested in the snake. The one-eyed snake.
Young meat, as they put it.
Where are we going?
Ken was known for approaching schoolgirls from the age
of 12 fuck, no, that no snake, no... Jesus, Ken, the fuck's wrong? Bruh.
To 15. Offering them schoolgirls from the ages of 12 to 15. Offering them gifts and giving...
I mean, if I was one of those 60 people, I didn't see nothing. I am legally blind, officer.
Rides in his fancy new pickup trucks. He would deliberately target girls from low-income households.
Wow.
As they would be more easily swayed by his lavish displays of wealth. Ken actually married a woman when he was 18, but he eventually divorced her in order to start a harem with all of the girls that he managed to successfully groom. From here, he'd not only marry at least 4 of these young girls, but also go on to have 10 kids between them. Is everyone starting to understand why this isn't a Mad Lad video?
Why didn't they kill him earlier?
So after hearing all of that, you'd think that Ken couldn't be more of a repugnant scumbag than he already was.
Where are we going?
No, he in fact, he gets so much worse.
What, he raped?
Following true stereotypical redneck fashion, Ken McElroy also abused his underage partners in every way possible. He would threaten to kill the girls' parents if they didn't have sex with him. And when they did have sex, it was described as a deliberately violent and demeaning experience. He was also known to beat the girls severely whenever he got angry. And whenever the parents tried to rescue their children from his abuse, Ken would either attempt to bribe or threaten them into keeping quiet. So that pretty much sums up Ken in a nutshell.
Okay, there is no more.
But I think the only way to show what he was really like is
pictures,
to go
please.
over the most infamous stories that we know about him. And the first of these stories is the Trina McLeod affair. Trina McLeod was a 12-year-old girl that Ken had first met when he was 35 years old. And he already had 2 young girls living with him at the time. In order for her parents to not suspect anything, Ken actually hired a boy to pretend that he was Trina's boyfriend, who would then escort her to Ken's house and back again. But eventually, Ken just
what was he doing with the boy? Hide him in the closet for a little bit while you get your shag on?
Ditched the cover act and just started picking up Trina from school himself. The school board later admitted that they had heard rumours about what was happening between Ken and Trina,
of course,
but said that they didn't have enough evidence to act. I have a feeling that there was plenty of evidence, and the real reason that they didn't do anything is because the pussies were scared of Ken.
Yes, they were. Okay, listen, I understand that, you know, some people are scared, right? But he's one man. He's not like a gang leader. And that's a lot of people to intimidate. Marshals, sheriffs, schools, dads, moms. Bruh, how intimidating was this dude?
14 years old.
Fallout skill checks all the time?
One of Ken's children.
Oh god.
So Ken convinced her to drop out of school and move in with him, replacing one of the girls who had earlier left his Jimmy Savile Playboy mansion. Despite being pregnant, this didn't spare Trina from the regular beatings or molestations that she would receive from Ken. It got so bad that by the time Trina gave birth to her first child, both she and the other girl living with Ken fled to Trina's parents' house. However, Ken was able to track both of them down, and when Trina's parents were away from the house, Ken barged in and dragged the 2 girls back to his home. As punishment for this, Ken beat the other girl to a pulp and made Trina do humiliating strip dances and perform demeaning sex acts. Afterwards, he drove them back to Trina's parents' house and made them watch as he shot the family dog and burned the house down. However, things were potentially looking up for Trina when her baby had taken ill and went to a doctor. Throughout the checkup, the doctor noticed that Trina looked very distressed, and he managed to convince her to tell him what was wrong. After she told him everything that Ken had done to her, the doctor immediately contacted social services to place her and the baby into protective foster care. Ken, being the type of man to not let things go so easily, soon began to harass Trina and her new foster parents. He would stare into their house armed with a shotgun, and he would make frequent threatening phone calls. At one point, Ken even called the foster parents and offered them an exchange of girl for girl by heavily...
This motherfucker, this dude playing fucking Yu-Gi-Oh! He's like, yo, I'll give you my red-eyed, blue-eyed dragon for your little green-eyed, blue-eyed waifu. That's...
implying that he knew where the foster parents' own biological daughter went to school, and he would have made no issue of abducting her if he didn't get Trina back. By today's standards, this alone would have been more than enough to lock Ken up for criminal harassment.
He burned the house.
Unfortunately, Missouri state law didn't actually have a criminal charge for this.
You mean they didn't have law?
So despite the foster parents repeatedly calling the police and telling them what was going on, the police said they couldn't do anything about it, as Ken wasn't invading their house.
What about the burned down house, the dead dog, the beatings, the everything?
Acting maliciously or actively shooting at the property itself.
Oh,
it seems that at this
wait
point
for him
in
to kill you and then you can call him.
The bar for the police to actually do something was set pretty damn high. The foster parents, despite all of the...
Cops! Some dude's attacking me. Wait, are you shot? Not yet. He's still not in the house. Oh, call us when you get shot, okay? Can't do shit.
Intimidation and threats that they got never gave Trina up to Ken. Though they could tell that the constant harassment was rapidly deteriorating Trina's mental health. After a whole year of this, it seemed that everything had been getting too much for Trina, and she announced to her foster parents that she decided to move in with her grandmother. Though this obviously made the foster parents very upset and also suspicious that Ken had some part in this, they couldn't force her to stay, and so they said their goodbyes. Upon reaching her grandmother's house, Trina then met back up with Ken and returned to his house shortly afterwards.
I was expecting this, but then...
As all of this was going on, Ken was facing serious charges for arson,
finally,
and statutory rape
on
the basis of Trina's testimony.
Oh,
he had managed to escape jail
just
time
her
for
testimony?
the first two charges by paying a $2,500 bail, but he still had the statutory rape charge hanging over his head. For the first time in his life, there was a serious chance of Ken actually going to jail for a long time. However, because Trina was now back living with Ken, he found a loophole. Marriage. At the time, key witnesses in Missouri criminal cases could not be compelled to testify if the defendant was closely related to them. And as Trina was the only key witness to the statutory rape charge, conducting a quick marriage ceremony would counter the prosecution's request to have Trina testify against Ken.
This is an annoying story. This is annoying me.
Ken did it. He managed to escape 3 serious charges through buying, intimidating, and marrying his way out of it. And you'd think that after barely saving himself from serious jail time, that he would be more careful as to how he acted in public.
But he got too confident or
This leads us into our second story, which involved Ken's altercation with a local farmer called Romaine Henry. On the 27th of July 1976, Ken drove to Romaine's farmland and fired 2 shotgun blasts into the air. Upon hearing the shots, Romaine drove to the entrance of his farm to see what was going on. And there, he encountered Ken standing just off the road of his property with a shotgun in his hands. Ken then proceeded to shout at Romaine and, without a hint of irony, accused Romaine of stalking. After Romaine had made a...
You came to the dude's house and accused him of stalking. By the way, this is America, right? Why nobody got gun but this dude? I thought everyone in America had like guns. Why not shoot him?
Bewildered response to these allegations.
Shoot peeps, right?
Ken just pointed his shotgun at Romaine's stomach. And fired.
He said, "Well, you're a lying SOB," and when he said that, well, then he more or less laid the barrel of that shotgun right against my stomach and pulled the trigger. And when he did, why, of course, it laid my face all open and blew my face into this door here.
Another shot hit Henry in the face. While the gunman was reloading, Henry managed to drive away.
Thankfully, Ryan's wounds weren't life-threatening, and he managed to drive away to safety when Ken's shotgun jammed. After the attack, the police were called and once again took Ken into custody. I mean, this time, he had to get jailed. You couldn't get a more straightforward...
They warned the dudes last time, hey, if he didn't shoot you, we can't do shit. This dude was like, he shot me. Twice. Can y'all do shit? We can do shit.
Case, if you tried. However, delays to the trial meant that for several months, Ken would continually harass and intimidate Romaine, as well as any
They didn't keep him in a jail or some shit?
For the case.
Fuck.
However, the trial eventually resumed, and Romaine managed to get 2 witnesses to back up his story. But Ken also had 2 witnesses. He managed to wrangle 2 of his raccoon hunting buddies to testify that he was actually with them during the time of the shooting. And because of this conflict of evidence, the jury felt that they had no other option than to acquit Ken of the charges.
Bro, how did he get... This dude's an actual Fallout character. He put everything into speech and intimidation. What was his explanation? I fell, my shotgun went and took his belly and it shot. After I got up, I slipped again and it shot him in the face. Hey, shit happens, bro.
After the trial, Ken grew so brazen that he would publicly brag about how he managed to avoid prosecution and that he was actually surprised that he didn't manage to kill Romaine to begin with.
I mean, it's
when
pretty...
he shot the dirty son of a bitch, that was Romaine Henry. He thought he had him shot deep enough that he'd die before he got home.
He told you that?
He told me that himself just last winter. And his brother...
Why didn't you come forward?
What for? Why should I tell that when they made such a fool out of the man that they shot?
I mean,
it's easy to get...
He's not actually wrong. Like, some dude shot a dude twice, and you're asked, like, why don't you go testify if he told you that? So they can shoot me and get away with it? I mean, that's the fucked up thing when the law doesn't work. People are afraid. And they don't see a point in, going towards the law, taking the solution of the law, because it don't work.
The impression that these cases were just another oversight of the Missouri justice system, and that Ken won his cases purely through luck and intimidation. But no, it turns out that he got some help. And the man who gave him that help was a lawyer called Richard McFadden. McFadden was a criminal defense lawyer based in Kansas City. He apparently had connections to the mob operating in the area, connections that, when asked about them, he didn't deny. So on those grounds, Ken was basically the perfect client for him. McFadden and Ken made a deal where Ken would pay $5,000 for each charge brought against him. And McFadden would employ every dirty tactic within the bounds of the law to get Ken out of jail. McFadden's common tactic would be to split charges into separate trials and constantly shift court venues and dates around. This would allow time for Ken to sort out things on his end, and it would enable McFadden to employ numerous legal technicalities to get Ken acquitted. So the numerous delays in the Romaine case were due to McFadden's deliberately obtuse scheduling, and Ken's decision to marry Trina to avoid the statutory rape charge was also thanks to McFadden's advice. In fact, McFadden was so proud of his little marriage scheme that he actually called up the prosecutor to gloat that he no longer had a case against Ken and that he had basically won. McFadden was Ken's go-to lawyer, and he would manage to get Ken acquitted from all of the 22 cases brought against him. However, there was eventually an incident that would not only end McFadden's winning streak, but spell the end of Ken's iron grip on the town of Skidmore. The incident in question was Ken's feud with an elderly couple called the Bowenkamps. Ernest and Lois Bowenkamp owned a convenience store in Skidmore and were both gearing up for retirement after having moved to the town in 1975. On the 25th of April 1980, several of Ken's kids made their routine trip to the Bowenkamp store. What happened next is slightly up for debate, but the story most commonly believed is that the Bowenkamps gently reminded the kids to pay for a bar of chocolate that they forgot to hand over to the counter. After this, the youngest girl cried and the group of kids all stormed out, swearing retribution upon the Bowenkamps. But so according to the
the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, it seems.
Bowenkamp's daughters, it was actually one of Ken's eldest daughters who initially grabbed the chocolate bar out of her younger sister's hands and told her that she couldn't have it, with the younger sister then crying about it. The older sister would have then told Ken that they were accused of shoplifting by the Bowenkamps in order to avoid being punished for making her sister cry. But regardless, Ken now apparently had a score to settle. So less than an hour later, he marched into the Bowenkamp store armed with a switchblade. And despite the initial heated confrontation, the Bowenkamps actually managed to explain the situation and calm Ken and Trina down. As a peace offering, Ken tried to order some cigarettes, but understandably furious about the scene his family had caused over nothing, Ernest Bowenkamp refused and told Ken that he and his family were no longer welcome at the shop.
Oh, shit.
And so the feud began. Over the next few months, Ken would commit to his usual stalking tactics, but soon began escalating things further than ever before. He sent a letter...
Well, you can't say further than ever before. He has fucked everything. He has burnt people's homes down. He has shot people. Further, how much for... Bruh.
$100 if Lewis and Trina fought each other in the street. He also started pulling up to the Bowenkamp's house to fire shotgun rounds just above the roof before driving back home again. The police were again called and again offered no help, as these actions were still apparently not enough
not
to get
illegal.
Ken in jail.
Oh,
in fact,
of course.
A Nodaway County sheriff called Robert Cronk even promised to forward the Bowenkamp's report to the prosecutor, only to completely go back on his promise and not even record the incident to begin with.
Wow.
Tensions finally reached their peak on the 8th of July 1980 when Ernest was cutting up boxes at the rear entrance of his store. Ken confronted Ernest and began pointing a shotgun at him. Ernest began moving away from Ken, and just at that moment, Ken pulled the trigger.
While I was looking down a double-barrel shotgun.
Oh, he survived, okay.
And I thought to myself, now is he going to shoot or is he just going to scare me? So I thought if he's going to shoot, I better dodge over. So I dodged over just in time. He got at least my neck. And that's all that story, because I was out the rest of the time.
Thankfully, Ernest managed to survive this attack because the shotgun blast just grazed his neck, and he managed to recover in hospital from the trauma and blood loss. The police immediately knew who to look for and started hunting Ken down.
I wonder.
They eventually caught him and brought him to court to face the charge of assault. I think trying to blow someone away with a shotgun is a bit more than assault, but whatever. Despite all of McFadden's usual attempts to delay court proceedings and Ken's usual intimidation of witnesses, on the 25th of June, 1981, the jury made a decision. Guilty. The jury found him guilty. Ken, after all these years, was finally going to jail.
Now he's probably gonna tell me some shit like he got fined for like $10.
However, there was a catch. Because there was no official record of Ken's intimidating behaviour or history of violence. Now, how the hell was that? Well, it's because despite the hundreds of times the townsfolk had reported him to the police,
no one wrote it
the
down.
police just decided not to record any of these incidents, which is why there was no record of Ken's history.
Bruh.
And because of this, the jury only settled on a 2-year sentence. And what was worse is that McFadden arranged for an appeal, and the judge had agreed to extend Ken's bail until the retrial. The town was still stuck with him. A few days after his sentencing, Ken walked into a bar that he frequently visited in the town.
I ain't even of this town and I'm pissed. What the fuck is this shit?
Called the D&G Tavern, while carrying an M1 Garand with an affixed bayonet. He then proceeded to load the gun and graphically document to the surrounding patrons as to how he was going to shoot and gut Ernest like a turkey for getting him sent to jail. This obviously directly violated Ken's bail conditions.
Oh, really?
And a few of the townspeople
submitted
a written account to the prosecutor detailing what had happened. Despite the prosecutor trying his best to lock Ken up right away, since Ken's retrial was in just 5 days,
Bruh.
the court decided there was no point in locking him up now.
He can kill somebody in 5... What the fuck do you mean?
And they should just wait the 5 days. But thanks to McFadden's interference, that 5-day wait turned into a 10-day wait when the court announced another delay to the appeal on the 10th of July, 1981. The townspeople got so frightened that a group of 60 locals met at the town hall to discuss how they could best protect themselves and the witnesses. 60 witnesses.
Okay.
A county sheriff called Danny Estes agreed to drive over from Maryville to advise the townspeople on the best legal way to do this. Apparently, Ken caught wind of what was happening, so he deliberately drove by the town hall before parking his truck outside the D&G bar to further intimidate the townspeople.
How do you intimidate 60 people? 60, that's a 6 and a 0. That's 60 people.
Really gloat about his continued freedom.
How do you intimidate
After
60
what seemed
people?
to be an unproductive meeting, the townspeople began to leave the hall, and the sheriff drove back to his office in Maryville. When the sheriff had gone, the townspeople then flooded into the D&G Tavern, as they knew that's where Ken was.
Okay.
What happened next
Beat his
was
ass.
about an hour's worth of tense observation of Ken by the Skidmore residents. Some tried to pretend that they were just there to order some drinks, whilst others were so transfixed out of fear and anger that they just stood there and stared at him. Eventually, Ken decided it was time to go home, so he ordered a 6-pack of beer for the road and escorted Trina back to his truck, walking through the massive crowd of residents outside the bar. Ken was smirking at all of them as he walked through them, because he knew how angry they all were that he was still free. And I think it was this smirk that was the last straw.
Come on, pop him.
Ken got into his truck and was just about to light a cigarette when several shots were fired and Ken slumped over onto the wheel. Dead. Nice. Seemingly out of nowhere, a random person in the crowd had aimed a rifle and fired at Ken whilst he was sitting in the truck. In fact, there may have been more than one shooter involved, as casings from a German World War I rifle and a revolver were found at the scene. Despite Trina being present at the shooting, screaming at the crowd to call an ambulance, the townsfolk...
Bitch, you serious?
refused.
Wow.
And by the time the police
surprised.
arrived, all the townsfolk had scattered home. A year-long investigation was then conducted by state and federal criminal investigators to determine...
I like how they spent more time looking into this dude's dead than everything else he fucking did. The 26 crimes?
Who was responsible for killing Ken McElroy? However, despite there being 35 primary leads and 100 interviews conducted, with 60 of those interviews being of the townsfolk who were physically right there in the crowd, every single one of them said, I didn't see who shot.
I didn't see nothing. I didn't see nothing.
Some of them were even bold enough to say, what shooting? I didn't see no shooting. The only person interviewed who claimed to know the identity of the shooter was Ken's wife, Trina. Now, how can that be? How can that be? How can none of them have saw who killed Ken McElroy?
I have an answer. Aliens. Aliens.
Roy.
Pyramids were built by aliens.
Well, it's because they're all fucking lying.
Of course they fucking are.
Every single one of them are lying.
Duh.
They were all looking right at Ken as he gets shot, and you know for a fact that when he got shot, every single
everyone was like, yeah,
woo! Turned around to see who did it. Right? Not a single person in that crowd thought to themselves, well, it looks like Ken's being murdered right in front of me by a man standing right beside me. But I can't think of a good enough reason to...
And they probably gave the rifle to the other people. Hey, you want to take a shot? Okay. Well, yeah. Shoot him, yeah. Should we call the kids?
Look to my left right now. Liability couldn't even be placed on all 60 of the townsfolk collectively, as Sheriff Estes testified that the prospect of killing Ken didn't exactly come up during the town meeting, thus absolving the group of a conspiracy charge. But you know for a fact that after the meeting, when they were all watching Ken drinking...
Yeah, Sheriff was like, I'm sorry, y'all can't do anything legally, okay? My hands are tied, you know, gangsters and all that shit. Sheriff's gone like, let's kill him. Hey, fuck it, let's kill him. Let's kill him.
In the bar.
To be honest, I'm kind of surprised they should have killed him over there, but... Yeah.
Though Trina named a farmer called Del Clement as the man responsible for the shooting, though there could have been multiple shooters, Del Clement was the only one she actually seen. There was no corroborating evidence or witness testimony to back up this claim. The witnesses probably screwed with the feds to protect Del Clement, being like, okay, I didn't see who killed Ken McElroy because I was far too busy looking at Del Clement, who was standing there doing absolutely nothing and definitely not killing Ken McElroy. Okay, I know that sounds strange. I know it sounds strange that I would be more focused on a man who was doing absolutely nothing and definitely doing absolutely nothing, instead of focusing on the man who is literally murdering someone right next to me. That sounds really strange, I know. But all we remember from that day is that Del Clement definitely did nothing.
Not shoot.
Isn't that right, boys? Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry, officer. I wish we could be of more help. So, in 1982,
case
the
closed.
federal and state authorities had no choice but to close the case without a conviction. This wasn't the end of legal action entirely, however. In 1984, and on behalf of Trina, McFadden sued Sheriff Estes, the local county, and Del Clement for $5 million in compensation for wrongful death.
Yo, I thought that dude fucked her in the ass, not in the head. Fuck's wrong with this bitch?
Caused by civil negligence.
That was probably a little too much.
All parties agreed to a settlement of $17,600 on the condition that nobody was attributed blame for the killing. Those paying up denied any kind of cover-up and instead argued that paying the $17,000 was much cheaper than defending themselves in an ultimately futile case. What's quite strange is that despite all of the torment that Ken had quite clearly put her through, Trina was more than willing to stick up for him after his death. Stockholm Syndrome is a very real thing.
I've known him all my life, besides the 7 years I've been married with him, and he was never that way. He never caused no trouble with nobody. You know, he was a good man.
What about the bowling camps?
I wasn't with him that day. You know, I couldn't answer for that. I do know it was self-defense.
His wife, Trina, is either his third or fourth wife. They began seeing each other 10 years ago when she was 14. At 16, she accused him of rape.
And
yes, he was
he didn't do
charged with
nothing.
it. But it's not true.
You brought the charge against
Yes,
him.
and it's not true.
Why did you do it?
Jealousy. I was jealous over him, but it's not true. He never had to do anything like that in the first place.
Though it would be extremely easy to pin this on some kind of personal misjudgment or lust for money, it's worth remembering that many victims of domestic abuse tend to form a kind of emotional dependency on their abusers, even years after being in a relationship with them. I think this is probably the best explanation for why Trina acted in the way that she did leading up to and after Ken's death. What's less excusable, meanwhile, is Ken's lawyer continuing to stick up for him. McFadden would defend Ken as a...
He's dead. He can't pay you no more unless she was paying him? Maybe?
Good and honest man who was simply misunderstood.
Maybe she was paying him the 5K.
By his local community. Oh, the poor wee baby.
Now he was doing it for money, 100%.
Ken Rex McElroy was a perfect gentleman. He was a good client.
He sure needed a lawyer an awful lot.
Yes, and I asked him about that, and he said, well, it's a set of circumstances. He says they're trying to get me, they're harassing me. I didn't do it.
But he did have a reputation for violence. He was known as the Jesse James of Northwest Missouri.
I have heard him called the Jesse James of the northwest part of Missouri. That is correct.
Well, he wasn't. So he might not have been the perfect gentleman that you just said he was.
I say only in his relationship with me. He was a fearless type person.
If that isn't enough to showcase what an actual scumbag this guy was, there was a book called In Broad Daylight, written by the author Harry McLean. In this book, McLean exposed all of the dirty tactics McFadden used to get Ken out of jail for his numerous crimes.
And?
Instead of feeling ashamed or humiliated about it, McFadden actually got McLean to personally sign numerous copies of the book and sent one to each and every member of the Missouri state legislators. Until his death, McFadden embraced the hatred he got and saw it as a compliment to his skill as a lawyer.
I mean, he was obviously...
No, you were just a giant piece of shit.
Well, he was a piece of shit, and he was a good lawyer, and probably his gang relationships were pretty good.
As for the townspeople's reaction to Ken's murder,
they didn't give a fuck.
They couldn't have been happier. and when they were asked about why they seemed so disinterested in bringing Ken's murderer to justice, one of the townsfolk gave this amazing quote. Nobody tries to hang a scientist for finding a way to kill a germ.
Bruh.
However, there are some townspeople who disagreed with what happened. They were still in...
The raccoon hunters? The raccoon gang? Gang, my raccoons,
favor of Ken getting killed, but they decried the fact that it happened in broad daylight so publicly. They believe that the shooting tainted the reputation of the town forever, and that the killers should have gone about it in a more subtle way. Really?
Fair enough.
Really? Like, yeah, we want
kill him,
dead,
but like...
you know, don't do it in a way that makes the town look bad. Think about what it might do to tourism. The town of Skidmore was in noticeable decline even when Ken was still around, but it has decayed even more since his death. There are no amenities, schools, or even gas stations in the area, and the population has decreased from around 400 to less than 300 over the past few decades. Many people attribute this decline to the dark blot on the town's reputation that Ken's unsolved murder had brought about. They felt that the murder had become the town's dirty little secret. But in reality,
it's not a secret if everyone knows what the fuck happened, bruh.
The town's real reason for failing is simply due to more young people migrating to more developed parts of Missouri or to other states entirely. What's truly amazing about this story isn't how awful Ken was or how much the legal system completely failed to protect the residents of Skidmore. What is truly amazing is that without any prior collusion, at least that we know of, an entire town, without saying a word to each other, all agreed to say absolutely nothing.
I must have hated him quite a lot.
Saw.
Makes sense.
How come no witnesses?
Everybody died for cover?
But at least 5 shots fired.
Depends who you talk to.
Are you surprised that there are no witnesses?
No.
Those who were actually there.
This motherfucker is the best who asked.
Witness the event take particular offence whenever the media frames the murder as a vigilante killing. They prefer to frame the murder as a result of law and order completely breaking down.
They're not wrong.
The only means of keeping their community
They're
safe.
not wrong. They had like upwards of 20 chances to put this motherfucker in prison.
From a dangerous and potentially murderous psychopath. It really shows that when law and order completely breaks down, people who would ordinarily be peaceful and law-abiding citizens will turn to extreme measures when they have been repeatedly let down by the system that they believed would protect them from people like Ken. There has, of course, been a number of movies, books and documentaries made,
I've never heard of this event
attempting to uncover the secret of what really happened outside the D&G Tavern that day.
Dude, piece
None
of
of
shit
them
got
have
shot.
gotten any closer to the truth, and the residents of the town are clearly more than happy to keep it that way. I'm not, though. I would like to know the identity
Buy him a
of
beer.
who did it. Not because I want to see the guy's reputation ruined or see him thrown in jail. I just want to buy the man a drink.
Hey, I'll put some cash into that fund. God be honest, I'd put some cash in that fund. Jesus Christ, okay, I see why y'all were suggesting this so much. I see why y'all were suggesting this. Fuck, this is a wild story. It kind of triggered me for the first 25 minutes. Wow, it was like, god damn it. How, that's fucking trash, yo. I had so many chances to put this dude in prison, and they didn't do nothing. Fucking trash. Anyway, quick thank you to the YouTube members and Patreons. Thank you all for the support. Much love. And if y'all want to see more Mad Lad reactions playlists right here, check it out, and I'll catch y'all next time. Bye, everybody.